My name is Prashant Sharma. I work for MasterCard and I lead our digital identity product. I'm based in New York, and I've been in this role for last 2 years, but almost 12 years at MasterCard. And in these 12 years, I've been in different roles around digital payments, so working on our MasterPass wallet product, launched various acceptance products, and started my role in the technology area within MasterCard. And today I'm here to talk about digital identity during and after COVID-19, and also to listen to some of the amazing speakers and the topics. And these topics are not just relevant for my product and role. And I feel that this is very, very critical to the current and the future environment that we are currently living in. So digital identity, and before I even talk about digital identity, let's just talk about how identity verification works in a face-to-face environment. We feel that these processes are very well defined. Most of us, we travel, and then when we travel, we either use our driving license or we use our passport to verify our identity. If we go to a grocery store, we are buying a bottle of wine and they have to verify our age. We present our driving license to verify the age. In certain cases, when we meet somebody for the very first time, we are generally introduced by somebody who knows both of us. And what that does is it essentially a method to bridge the trust gap, and something that we have used successfully for many, many years. Now imagine doing exactly this process in a digital world. These processes generally do not translate very well in the digital world. So that's where we feel that digital identity can play a very critical role. So what is digital identity? It's essentially a collage of identity data that is verified by trusted partners and a digital means of establishing who we say we are with a high degree of assurance. So that is critical, that it has to be verified by trusted parties, and it needs to provide a high assurance of identity. And what reusability brings is that I don't have to keep doing this over and over again. If I open up a bank account 6 months back, I have provided my identity. If I'm opening up a bank account again 6 months from now, I have to go through the same process. So reusable identity essentially eliminates that process. I prove my identity once or verify my identity once, and then I can utilize that over and over to gain access to multiple services with speed, convenience, and security. And this data is based upon various factors. So it's not just static data. Static data is not good enough. We know that we have seen many issues with static data, if it's, whether it's user ID, password, and things like that. So it's critical that your digital identity not just has static data, but it also has dynamic data in there as well. So, on this slide, you'll see that there are certain examples, so date of birth, your name, your address, your social security number, and also certain acquired attributes. So these are some of the attributes that form your digital identity. If we talk about where the market is moving, so as the economy and society move from a world where interactions were mostly physical and based upon paper documents, we really cannot just rely on those kind of processes. Things are moving digital, and things were actually moving digital before COVID. But what has happened in the last few months, last few weeks, that things have essentially fast tracked. More and more things are moving towards digital. And these capabilities using physical and paper identities, they've had a lot of challenges, whether it's related to fraud, whether it's related to identity theft, data breaches. So that has been some of the results of these kind of processes that we had in the past, and actually what we see currently as well. User ID passwords. I can tell you just yesterday, I was on a website, I entered my user ID password and a pop-up came up. I think it was from Google with a message that my password might have been compromised. So I should go and check and maybe change that. And I'm pretty sure that most of us, we've been in these kind of situations where either the website or the merchant is telling us that password or the data has been exposed, we should change our password. So essentially these are major risks for identity theft. And also control. So we rarely have control on the data. I really don't know where all my data is. I feel that certain entities with whom I share my data, who they are sharing this with. So it's becoming very, very challenging. So what we need to do is we need to essentially provide a system. We need to create an internet of trusted data that provides safe and secure access for everyone. And something using which we can unlock great benefits to the society and establish trust in this ecosystem. While we do that, we need to make sure that any of your identity data, it is dynamic. Password, I just gave you an example. It causes a lot of challenges. So we feel that your access should be based upon dynamic data. It should be based upon biometric, and it needs to be smart as well. So user needs to be in complete control of their data. No data must be shared without user permission, and user should have the capability to be able to remove or delete data when and if they want to. Let's talk a little bit about some of the areas where we are seeing digital identity being used, I would say, more often than in the past. And in the current situation, we are seeing that people are doing these interactions mostly online. In the past, before the crisis, there was always an option as a fallback where you can go to the physical store, whether it was opening up a bank account, whether it was renewing your driver's license. So you had those options, and those options are not there yet. Yes, we feel that at some point those things will be back, but this is a major opportunity for us to be able to fast track digital identity into the ecosystem. And now more than ever, we need a way to prove that we are who we say we are in a digital environment. And then, as the situation improves, and hopefully it improves very, very soon, we will see that more and more credentials related to crisis, such as immunity passports. I think we've already seen certain countries, they are implementing capabilities like that, using which people are about to travel. They can have access to different places, but we will see that, some of these kind of methods, they will continue to come in the ecosystem. So whether it's opening up a bank account, whether it's e-commerce shopping, filing taxes, they all require identity verification. And again, these are just some of the examples where we are seeing a lot of ask from a digital identity system. But these are not the only use cases where digital identity system is actually going to be utilized. So let's take a couple of these examples. So government services. So I'm pretty sure we all know that a few months back, when governments were looking at providing economic support to people, it's critical to make sure that they do verify identity of the individual, and then also verify whether the individual is actually entitled to apply. If we look at the healthcare space, how will we ease the lockdown? We need to make sure that there is some kind of test, and then we can issue some kind of immunity credential to the user. But then once that is issued, the person on the other side who is doing that check, how do they make sure that it really applies to the person who's standing or sitting in front of them? So digital identity becomes critical over there as well. Healthcare space, more and more healthcare capabilities and solutions, they are moving online. So a healthcare worker with whom we are interacting online, we are trying to get some advice. How do we make sure that they are really, the person who they are saying, they are really entitled to actually provide that service? Education, we are seeing a lot of examples here. We are actually doing certain pilots in different markets. We are working with a university in Australia where all the students are at home right now, and these students have to take exams. So how do we make sure that these students who are applying for exams, who are taking these classes, who are sitting in the exams, they have verified their identity and they are indeed who they say they are? So there are many, many use cases. IoT will become critical in future as well. I'm pretty sure all of us, we have a lot of IoT devices in our homes. We utilize that to, check how the weather is, how the traffic is. But me, I'm in the payment space. I work for MasterCard, but even myself, I generally do not use these devices for a payment transaction perspective. Imagine if we can bind digital identity to these IoT devices, given where 5G is going, these increase of number of IoT devices. If we can start trusting, if we can establish trust with these devices and sensors, we feel that all of us are going to get benefited using all these transactions. I want to have some discussion, especially around banking. The use cases that I talked about, all of those use cases require digital identity, but banking plays a much more critical role in this entire industry. And it's not just about bank just providing digital identity capabilities. Banks are the front line of disruption which was brought by COVID-19. So whether it was large banks, whether it was smaller banks, whether it was fintechs, they were all impacted by this crisis that was caused by COVID. Majority of bank branches, they were closed. And when the bank branches were closed, we also started seeing fraudsters coming up with new schemes on a regular basis. And that had a major impact. We started seeing, consumers' trust maybe going down. So imagine if there is a big fraud that happens in the payment ecosystem, what impact that is going to have on the trust that we have built for many, many years. Usage of cash. We know that cash has been on decline for many years, but we are seeing that users are going more online. The number of transactions that we used to see from an e-commerce perspective, I would say that has more than doubled in last few weeks. There's actually no place for us to even buy groceries. So most of the regular things for which we used to go to these brick and mortar stores, they are moving to online shopping as well. In countries around the world, we see headlines about growing security and privacy concerns because of payment fraud. And it not just impacts consumer trust, but also has a major reputational issues for our digital service providers. And we feel that banks are on the front line. So both as their role as transmitting government stimulus, I'm pretty sure we are all aware of PPP, at least in the US market. So they are providing that government stimulus to small businesses. They are offering emergency lending. They are providing loans to clients. They are donating to relief efforts. And we want to make sure that we are all aware of the reputational risks they face when consumers feel that they cannot support, or the banks cannot really support them when they really need the banks the most. So all these examples, it clearly shows that there's a genuine need to restore trust in the models and technologies that are used for banking. At the same time, we want to make sure that we do not abandon our principles of user centricity and privacy just because we are in a crisis. Certain times we see that just because we have to react to a certain challenge, we take certain shortcuts. But I think it is critical for all of us that we do not take any shortcuts. We continue to focus on user centricity. We continue to focus on building solutions which are providing privacy to the users. Because if we do not do that, we feel that it's just going to be a slippery slope. And it's not that we can just stop that after 6 months once this crisis is gone. We feel that if we start with a model like that, which is not user-centric, it will have a long-term negative impact on the trust that the banks have actually built into the society. And banks also, they need to make sure that they are seen as a solid and reliable bedrock for the population. And how do we do all these things? Making sure that the users trust it, it is user-centric, is through a digital identity, a strong digital identity system. So a digital identity system can play a very valuable role in this, whether it's as simple as speeding up the application process. So I want to apply for a bank account, or I want to apply for becoming a new merchant. All these things needs to be go online, and something where we feel that digital identity system can play a very, very critical role. So again, I think other verticals are very critical, but banks play a very central role in making sure that the solutions that we are building, the new capabilities that we are bringing into the market continues to follow the model of trust and follows user centricity and privacy based models. Uh, what is MasterCard doing in this area, and why MasterCard? Let's talk about why MasterCard first. I'm pretty sure, and I'm really hoping that everybody has had a MasterCard or has a MasterCard, and you guys are using it on a regular basis. We are present in more than 210 countries around the world. We process more than 100 million, 150 million transactions on a daily basis. We have 2.5 billion cards, more than 2.5 billion cards across the world. And what I'm trying to say is that by building the scheme, which is global in nature, we have brought in participants, whether it's banks, whether it's technology providers. So we have the experience to build a product, a solution, which is global in nature. Technology is very critical, but it's also important that there is a scheme around that. So a technology can enable digital identity capability, but if there is no trust, if there is no scheme, if there is no way for people to submit a dispute around certain things, if there is no clear pricing associated with all of this, it's very difficult to scale a solution, a product from a global perspective. So MasterCard can play a critical role. And why MasterCard? We feel that we can create a workable digital identity services that requires commercial capability, which is focused on innovation, governance, and interoperability. So again, the point is technology is critical, but bringing different partners, and developing a scheme around that is as critical as building the technology as well. So anybody who's not aware, so we have already launched a service which is called IT. IT is our brand for digital identity. And we want to make sure that as we continue to build our digital identity product, we must not compromise on the control. The principles that we are developing, it ensures convenience, it ensures security and control of personal data. So what you are seeing here on the screen, it lists some of those principles. So again, all of this is available on our website, idservice.com. And I would highly encourage you to take a look at this. And we feel that the principles that we have applied in the payment space translates very well from a digital identity perspective as well. So if we look at some of these principles, ownership, and I'm pretty sure nobody is going to argue against this. Individuals, we all own our identity. We own our identity, we own the personal data. Confidentiality, individuals, they have the right to keep their digital identity information private. Consent, I think it's very critical, and a lot of regulations that are coming into this area as well. So not just we want to follow regulations in the market, we want to make sure that we are doing the right thing as well. So consent is critical, that no data is shared with anybody without user's consent. So user must explicitly provide consent before any of the data is provided to any entity in this ecosystem. Transparency, again, if you'll go and read the document, it shows from a user experience perspective how this works. Any identity attribute data which is shared with any of the partner, user has a complete view of that. What exactly they are sharing, with whom they are sharing, and what the partner can actually do with that data. So all these principles we feel are very critical to create a global interoperable digital identity system. And if we feel that if we do not do that, like I talked about in the previous slide around banking, we feel that it is just going to be a slippery slope. So we do not want to take a shortcut just because we are in a crisis right now. What we are trying to build is more from a long-term perspective, something that users can trust, which will actually drive more digital interactions. And we are not saying that, we can just do this by ourselves. We are learning a lot. We are at an inflection point right now in our journey. And we must choose very carefully how do we respond to this and any of the future crises. Again, we are all tempted by taking certain shortcuts because there is an opportunity right in front of us. And I won't blame if somebody does that, but I would highly recommend people do not do this. This is not just a short-term thing. It is critical that we do the right thing. It's important that people trust your services, because this is not just good for consumer. We feel this is actually very good for all of our businesses as well, if consumers will trust this ecosystem. So it's important to remember that the system that we have put in place is in very early days at this particular point. We want to collaborate. So we invite other partners, anybody who's listening over here, or anybody who feel that they can help us drive this digital identity ecosystem. We want to participate. There's no way that we have the technology, we have the experience, we have the tool set to go and build this global interoperable digital identity ecosystem. So we encourage you to come work with us to create this global digital identity ecosystem. In closing, I would just say that I think very strongly that digital identity is a vital necessity, not just in banking, but all the other areas as well. But much more importantly, as we build these capabilities, we build these kind of solutions, we need to make sure that we are building a responsible digital identity we can all trust, not just for now, but also for future as well.